So if there's an issue, please let us know. We'll try to see your questions here. Somebody says, I cannot see your WebEx screen. Can you see it? Is anybody cannot see it now? Because it says no one sees your screen. Here we go. I'm sorry. Showing screen. Apologize. We're figuring this out. All right. Is there anybody? All right. Everyone says good now, can see. Good. Thank you. That would have been good. I'm glad we didn't go too far into this. Let me try one more time. This is Roger Jacoby. Thank you for showing up. This will be a quick overview. This webinar is going to provide a very high-level overview of the Fiscal Checkup software. There we go. Looking quickly at the agenda for this webinar, we're going to do a walkthrough of what we call the Input Wizard, the software part on the website that shows you how to set up an account and input the data. And then we're briefly going to go through the 6 reports that are generated by Fiscal Checkup. Please note that this is a very high-level overview. There is a 20-minute in-depth, step-by-step video on just manually entering data line by line, as well as there's a video on entering data with QuickBooks Online. Hopefully there'll soon be another video on using QuickBooks Desktop. That is a capability that exists today, but we do not have the tutorial done yet. There are also very much in-depth videos on each of the 6 reports. We're going to go at a very high level, but those detailed ones take about 10 minutes each and go through section by section. So this is trying to just give you an overview of both the input process as well as a high-level look at what you can expect if you take the time to do it within the reports. First, on the Fiscal Checkup website, in the upper right-hand corner is a link to log in or create a new account. On the next screen, after if you've created an account, you simply enter your email and password and click Log On. Otherwise, to create an account, click on Create an Account. You simply have to enter your first and last name, a valid email address, and a password. Password must be 8 characters. You'll also be asked to establish an account name for the profile. Note, if you're a business advisor or an accountant, this is likely the name of your firm. It can be different from the name of the company that's being analyzed. Once you click on Register, Fiscal Checkup will send an email to validate the email address you've entered. Simply go to the account specified in the profile, open the email, and you might need to check your spam mailbox if you don't see the email. Within the email, there's just a link to confirm the account. Simply click on that link and you will immediately be redirected back to the site ready to begin the process. To start the analysis for a company, simply click on New Report there in the upper right-hand corner. Fiscal Checkup offers a free industry comparables report. If you select this option and then click on Continue to Wizard, you'll be asked to input up to 5 NAICS codes and you'll be able to print your free report. If you select the free industry comparables report plus the free company report card, you will be asked to input a company name to place on the top of the report card. Once you click on Continue to Wizard, you'll be asked to pick up to 5 NAICS codes and asked to input data for 7 accounts: AR, AP, inventory, revenue, cost of goods sold, operating expenses, and net profit. You will need data for at least 3 years to receive a meaningful report card. If you select the full company report, you will be asked for the name of the company, then clicking on Continue to Payment will take you through the payment process. I just noticed Pat says I lost audio. I don't know how long ago that was, Pat. Cannot see screen. Got it. Good now. I think, Pat, if you still, I guess you can't answer. If you got audio back, Pat, could you tell me that you got your audio back? Because I know we had a problem in the beginning. All right, I'm just going to continue on for the sake of those that are here. I hope everyone else can hear me. Okay, just got a thumbs up. The wizard starts with this screen. If you've completed analyses on more than one company, then click on Reports in the upper right-hand corner. and you will see a list of companies that you have created. To select the company you want to work with, just click on the Edit button on the right-hand side. If you want to share access to this input wizard for a very specific company, click on that Share button, and then enter the email address of the person that should be given access. You can share access with as many people as you believe are necessary. This is important for businesses that want to grant access to their accountant and for trusted business advisors that want company personnel to input data, such as the subjective questions that you'll see in a few screens. Once you enter the email address, click on Share, and they will be notified of the access and informed how to set up their account. You can also create a new report for a new company. Also near the top, you can click on Settings. This allows you to select a file with a logo that will print on the title page of each report. Throughout the input wizard, there's a help desk. You can type in a question or a term. I entered the term cash flow. The software will give you the closest matches. If you click on a question, Fiscal Checkup will give you data on the question or the term that you entered. Finally, on the wizard start screen, you can download a PDF document listing every data field that's about to be encountered in the wizard. It is sometimes easier to prepare for the wizard before you begin, especially for the subjective company and market-based questions. The next step is to choose whether you will be importing data from QuickBooks or entering data manually. As I mentioned previously, there are separate videos that describe each of these processes in greater detail. We will only be reviewing the overall process in this seminar. While working through the wizard, you can go to any section by clicking on any of the 6 tabs. Or you can click on Back or Next to go to one tab at a time. Clicking on Next or the Company tab brings you to the company screen. Simply enter the address, city, state, and zip of the company being analyzed. Select the entity type. Next, select whether it's a private or a public company, and then select the first month of the fiscal year. Enter the years in business and the number of employees. The next section of the Company tab allows you to select up to 5 NAICS codes. This portion is also used when creating the free Industry Comparables Report or the free Fiscal Report Card. You can type in a keyword and see all the options with that word, or if you know the NAICS code, you can start entering it. The more numbers you enter, the shorter the list. You can then choose a second NAICS code by typing a word or the appropriate code. If you enter more than one code, you must enter the percentage of revenue for each code. Make sure it adds up to 100%. Finally, on the bottom of this tab, you need to tell Fiscal Checkup which years of data that you will be entering so the software can create the appropriate columns for data entry. Simply click and drag the handles as appropriate. That completes the Company tab. Now click on number 2, Income, or Next. The Data Wizard only asks for very specific lines from the income statement, not every line. The wizard automatically fills in the other lines to save you time. Remember, every cell needs a value, so either enter a number or a 0. Most of the figures on this page should come directly from the income statement of the business. Note, when you hover your mouse over the category title, Fiscal Checkup provides a more detailed explanation. This video on manual data entry describes the video that we have on manual data entry describes each of these accounts in great detail, but for this overview, I'm only going to list the accounts starting with revenue. Cost of goods sold, depreciation, amortization, excess owner's compensation, lease expense, operating expenses, interest expense, net profit before tax, income tax expense, distributions or dividends, and any adjustments to the equity accounts. When all of the data for the income statement has been entered, you just simply click on number 3, Balance Sheet, or Next. The categories on this page should correlate to most balance sheet accounts. Fiscal Checkup only needs the data for the accounts listed. It will calculate the other accounts like other current assets or other current liabilities. The data fields on this page include cash and equivalents, AR, inventory, total current assets, plant and property and equipment, total accumulated depreciation, total assets, current maturities of long-term debt, accounts payable, notes payable, total current liabilities, term debt, capital stock, retained earnings, and total stockholder equity. When completed with the balance sheet, you click on number 4, the valuation, or the next step. When completing a financially driven business valuation, it's important to allow for adjustments to the financial statements in order to reflect the true value of the underlying assets and liabilities of the business. If needed, this is where you enter adjustments for cost of goods sold, adjustments for other expenses, adjustments for other liabilities, adjustments for inventory, and finally adjustments for other long-term assets. Note, the adjustment for excess owner's compensation was already entered on the income statement page. Click on number 5, Subjective or Next, to access the next section. The first section of this tab contains 8 subjective questions that are mandatory to complete the analysis, because some of the data is used to calculate some of the ratios, and the data from other questions are used in the competitive and market analysis sections of the report. If you are a trusted advisor, this is the section you might need the business to help complete. The questions include concentrations of customers, the growth rate of the company's primary market, market share changes, the competitiveness of the company's product or service, the competency of the sales force, how knowledgeable is the sales force about customers and competitors, the selling organization and compensation. The last question asks about sales support. Answering the next 10 questions is optional, but answering them improves the completeness of the report. The first question deals with customer concentration, internal sales control, the quality of customer service, the frequency of customer orders, the profitability of new sales versus repeat or old sales, significant supply issues, the cyclicality of the primary market, the geography of the primary market served, whether the products or services are custom or standard, and the average price change last year. When the subjective questions are complete, simply click on number 6, Projected or Next Step. The next 7 questions in this section allow the user to stress test the forward-looking projections. It's recommended that the first time the report is generated, no changes are made to the base assumptions. Note, under each value is listed the historic values calculated by the software. The user is able to increase or decrease these numbers and then view the effect of the changes on the forward-looking projections contained in both the executive summary and the lender's report. You can change sales growth percentage, cost of goods sold percentage of sales, operating expenses as a percentage of sales, capital expenditures as a percentage of sales, AR days, AP days, and finally inventory days. You can come back and change these values for projections over the course of the license period. Next, click on Finish to finish the input process. To generate a report, you click on Print Preview. If cells have not been entered as a number or a 0, you will not be allowed to generate a report. Go back and finish entering the needed numbers. The report will be shown on the left, with a table of contents on the right. You can click on any section of the report in the right-hand pane to preview it. The last section of each report is a free text field where the person preparing the report can add comments or an explanation before the report is printed. When you click on one of the Advisor Comments sections, it opens a window on the left-hand side of the screen where you can enter comments or clarifications. You can enter the comments now or later after reviewing each report. Checking or unchecking the box next to the title of each report will tell Fiscal Checkup whether or not you want to print a specific report. Only those with a check mark will be printed. When you are ready to print, simply click on Download Report in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and the report will be saved on your computer as a PDF file. Now, I'm briefly going to review the 6 reports that are generated by Fiscal Checkup so you can see what is contained. Remember, there's an in-depth, section-by-section video of each report. This is an overview. The first report is the executive summary. It contains graphs. The first page contains graphs on the 8 areas listed here. Page 2 has the break-even analysis on the top of the page, and a graph summarizing the values calculated in the business valuation report on the bottom. Page 3 is a one-page review of the entire cash driver report. It contains brief summaries of the working capital accounts, both graphically and in narrative. Page 4 is a one-page review of the entire profit driver report. It contains brief summaries of cost of goods sold, operating expenses, and capital expenditures, both graphically and in narrative. Page 5 is the powerful forecasting tool. It uses historic values to forecast, but allows the user to change the values. If the projections are based on values input by the user, those changes are highlighted above the table. The final page of the executive summary contains our proprietary D rating on the top, comparing the company to the industry for 9 key ratios. In the middle of this page is our proprietary V or viability rating, where we score the business on 8 different variables known to affect the future viability of a company. The company is compared to itself and the industry to calculate this rating. The final section on this page is a list of specific recommendations. This concludes the executive summary report. The second report is the industry comparables report. This report starts with the detail behind our proprietary D rating. The chart on the top of the page shows the values for the 3 key income-based ratios, 3 working capital ratios, and 3 leverage-based ratios. The business is compared to the industry and given a red flag if the value is more than 10% below the industry, and a green check mark if the business is better than the industry by at least 10%, and there's no color highlighting if it is within a plus or minus 10% of the industry. On the bottom of the page, we graphically show the 3 income-based ratios comparing the company to the industry for 3 years. Sometimes the trend of these ratios is as important as the absolute number. This analysis tries to help the business understand the most important ratios to improve business performance. The second page of the report continues with the other ratios that make up the D rating. It graphically shows the 3 working capital ratios comparing the company to the industry for 3 years on the top, and the leverage-based ratios on the bottom half of the screen. The next page is what most people think of when they imagine an industry comparables report. This page contains data on about 40 income statement, balance sheet, and industry ratios, with the industry data for the past 3 years compared to the last year of the company. This page is identical to the previous page, but instead it has 3 years of the company and only the latest year for the industry. This page completes the ratio analysis with about 15 cash flow related ratios. The table on the top has 3 years of industry data, the table on the bottom has 3 years of company data. On the bottom of this page is a brief discussion of the NAICS codes represented in this report. The final page of the Industry Comparables report has the V or viability rating analysis. This rating was also in the executive summary. This rating scores the business on 8 different variables known to affect the future viability of companies. The company is compared to itself and the industry to calculate this rating. The bottom of the page uses data from the subjective questions to highlight the competitive landscape and the industry comparables. The business valuation report starts with the listing of the adjustments to the financial statements that were entered into the import wizard, and then it recasts the income statement on the bottom of the page. The last line in the first table compares the working capital balance in the business to the industry and calculates whether there's an excess or shortage of working capital, which will impact the price paid by a buyer. This page goes through the calculation of the appropriate company-specific discount rate. Based on the past performance, Fiscal Checkup estimates the future owner's discretionary cash. Then, the value of the business is calculated based on 5 different methods: the discounted cash flow, capitalization of earnings, and 3 market-based methods: EBITDA, book value, and earnings. The multiples in the market-based section are updated monthly. The top table weights the different methods and estimates the fair market value of the company. A plus or minus 10% range is presented, and then the fair market value is cross-checked by calculating a buyer's return on equity. The cash driver report reviews the balance sheet account. The first page analyzes accounts receivable. It provides an in-depth analysis, calculates potential improvements, and makes recommendations. The second page completes the same analysis for inventory, again making recommendations where appropriate. The final working capital account analyzed is accounts payable. An in-depth analysis is completed along with recommendations where appropriate. The final page of the cash driver report combines the 3 working capital accounts into the working capital or cash conversion cycle. For those businesses not familiar with this concept, it is explained in detail comparing the company to its industry. The profit driver report analyzes the income statement account. The first page completes the analysis on cost of goods sold. Since cost of goods sold directly impacts profitability and therefore business value, the value of potential improvements is monetized. The second page of the profit driver report analyzes operating expenses, comparing the business to itself as well as the industry. Improvements are monetized in both profit as well as increased business value. The report also contains an analysis of capital expenditures. It compares the company to the industry for its efficient use of assets. There is also an analysis of revenue, including a table that calculates the profitability and working capital requirements of new sales. Growth rates are also presented on this page. The final page of the profit driver report uses much of the data provided in the subjective questions to provide an analysis of the sales dynamics. Where available, business performance is compared to the industry. The final report is a 10-page lender's report. It is a complete summary of the business with actually more detail than the executive summary. It starts with a company dashboard graphically showing the business performance for 6 critical ratios. The report contains 3 years of income statements along with an analysis of year-over-year changes. It also presents 3 years of balance sheets with the year-over-year changes on the bottom table. Lenders also want to see a UCA-compliant cash flow statement, so Fiscal Checkup uses the data entered to provide the lender the data in the format that they expect to see it. Repeating the forecast from the executive summary, it shows the 3-year projections. Again, if users have modified the variables, the changes are documented above the table. There's also a ratio review of the key ratios and how they have changed over the past 3 years. The table showing the cash conversion cycle is presented on the bottom of the page. The industry comparables report is summarized on this page, showing 3 years of company values to the last year of industry data. The analysis, calculating the profitability of new sales and the working capital requirements for sales, is presented here for the past 2 years. On the bottom of the page, the summary of the business valuation is also included. Since lenders evaluate businesses using objective risk ratings, the 8 top ratios used by lenders are presented here, with 3 years of company data compared to the industry. Based on the performance compared to the industry, Fiscal Checkup gives the business a rating on each ratio and explains the analysis below. Those ratios exceeding the industry average by at least 10% are highlighted in green. Those with more than 10% below the industry are highlighted in red. The final page of the lender's report shows the lender the proprietary V rating. It also includes the competitive landscape discussion and the industry comparables discussion. You have just seen a very high-level overview of the Fiscal Checkup reports. Remember that there are videos for each of these reports that contain a detailed section-by-section explanation of the contents of each report. You've now seen an overview of Fiscal Checkup, a powerful analytics tool to help improve business performance. I would hope you would agree that a good fiscal analytics tool will help you analyze balance sheet accounts to see which have the greatest potential to improve cash flow, analyze the income statement accounts to see how to improve profitability, help select which accounts need benchmarks to be established to provide focus for improved performance, provide the basis for future forecasting, and evaluate the impact on the balance sheet and bankability, determine the profitability of new sales and the working capital requirements of those sales, calculate appropriate growth rates, determine the value of the business, and help a business know how their lender will view them, anticipating the areas of concern so that they can be addressed. I would hope that you would agree that Fiscal Checkup fulfills this criteria. As a reminder, we have numerous educational resources to help you. There are significant resources on our website, including white papers, numerous videos, including how to upload data from QuickBooks, along with recordings of past webinars. You can even sign up for future webinars. In fact, our next webinar is going to be next Thursday, and it will be an overview of business valuations. Sorry, there will be no continuing education credit. In the software, there's the case-sensitive help system that we showed you, or you can call us or send us an email. Note the email address is Fiscal Advantage, our corporate name, not Fiscal Checkup, our product name. Thank you. I'd welcome any questions you have or ideas on how to improve Fiscal Checkup or this webinar.